Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Shh. The secret word is name. Groucho Marx from 69 years ago, October 21st, 1953. You bet your life. That's coming up on this Friday Classic Radio Theater. Thanks for tuning in. On the 21st day of October, 294th day of the year, 71 days remaining, the first display of the word liberty on a flag raised by colonists in Taunton, Massachusetts, in defiance of British rule in colonial America in 1774. In 1797 in Boston Harbor, the 44-gun United States Navy frigate USS Constitution launched. Portland cement patented on this date in 1824. Yep, you see it all over today. It's a vital component of concrete. Florence Nightingale, a staff of 38 nurses sent to the Crimean War on this date in 1854. In 1867, near Medicine Lodge, Kansas, a landmark treaty signed by Southern Great Plains Indian leaders. The treaty required Native American Plains tribes to relocate a reservation in western Oklahoma. Thomas Edison tested the first practical electric incandescent light bulb on this date in 1879. It lasted 13 and a half hours before burning out. Now, a 5-month strike by the United Mine Workers ended on this date in 1902. President Harding delivered the first speech by a sitting president against lynching in the Deep South in 1921. Argentine military officer and politician Juan Perón married actress Evita on this date in 1945. The movie Jailhouse Rock, starring Elvis Presley, opened on this date in 1957. In 1959, the Guggenheim Museum opened to the public in New York City, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. President Eisenhower signed an executive order on this date in 1959, transferring Werner von Braun and other German scientists from the Army to NASA. More than 100,000 war protesters on this date in 1967 gathered in Washington, a peaceful rally at the Lincoln Memorial, followed by a march to the Pentagon and clashes with soldiers and U.S. Marshals protecting the facility.
Demonstrators must depart from the Pentagon grounds by midnight. All persons to leave voluntarily can board buses on the road. These buses will go to the memorial.
The event would last 2 more days, 683 people arrested. Similar demonstrations occurred simultaneously in Japan and Western Europe. John Paul Getty III's ear cut off by his kidnappers and sent to a newspaper in Rome on this date in 1973, but it wouldn't arrive until November 8th. Meatloaf's hit album Bat Out of Hell released on this date in 1977. The second debate between President Reagan and Walter Mondale on this date in 1984. One of the subjects, the ongoing wars in Central America.
I thought for a moment that instead of a debate, I was going to find Mr. Mondale in complete agreement with what we're doing, because the plan that he has outlined is the one we've been following for quite some time, including diplomatic processes throughout Central America and working closely with the Contadora Group.
Walter Mondale did not do well in that election at all. President Reagan just ran all over him. Former Miss America Bess Myers arrested on this date in 1987 on charges of bribery, conspiracy, and mail fraud involving an alimony fixing scandal. She would be later found not guilty. North Korea and the U.S. signed an agreement on this date in 1994 that required North Korea to stop its nuclear weapons program and agree to inspections. And it was last year a shooting occurred on the set of the film Rust, in which Alec Baldwin discharged a prop weapon which had been loaded, killing the director of photography, Helene Hutchins, and injuring director Joel Sousa. Baldwin has settled with the family of Hutchins. Passing away on this date in history, band leader Bill Black, novelist poet Jack Kerouac, former presidential candidate George McGovern, journalist author Ben Bradley, and from the TV show I'm Dickens, He's Spencer, the very, very funny Marty Ingalls. This is the birth date of Alfred Nobel, Dizzy Gillespie, the trumpeter, also Cuban singer Celia Cruz, football player Brian Piccolo, and Carrie Fisher. The last surviving member of the Honeymooners, Joyce Randolph, Trixie Norton on that series, 98 years old today. The man behind Manfred Mann's Earth Band and many other bands, Manfred Mann. Yes, there really is a Manfred Mann. He is 82 years old today. The Mighty Quinn and Blinded by the Light. Elvin Bishop, who fooled around and fell in love, 80 years old today. Judge Judy Shineland, who is now available on Amazon's Freevee streaming service. She's been Judge Judy since 1996, 80 years old today. The daughter of Ronald Reagan, Patty Davis, 70 years old. From American Dreams and Blue Bloods, Will Estes is 44. And Kim Kardashian, 42. Those some of the people celebrating the 21st day of October as their birthday. If this is your birthday.
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you.
And from 69 years ago, October 21st, 1953, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life, on this Friday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare. And that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life. This episode originally broadcast 69 years ago today, October 21st, 1953.
Ladies and gentlemen, the secret word tonight is name. N-A-M-E.
Really?
You bet your life. It's Groucho Marx in You Bet Your Life, the comedy quiz series produced and transcribed from Hollywood and brought to you by the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers. The dealers who now have on display the all-new 1954 Plymouth, your best buy in the low-priced field, and who on November 5th will have on display the astonishing and beautiful new DeSoto for 1954. And now, here he is, the one, the only...
Are you sure you want him? Oh, that's me. Well, here I am again with 1,500 smackolas for one of our couples.
Well, Groucho, I saw an interesting article in the newspaper about a married couple, and I told them to come and see us next time they were in Hollywood, and maybe they'd get on the show. And they did, and here they are. Mr. and Mrs. John Peter Fedorovich, would you come in, please, and meet Groucho Marx?
Well, howdy do. Welcome, folks, with the DeSoto Plymouth dealers. Say the secret word, and you'll take home an extra 100 smackolas. The secret word is a very common word, and it's something you always have with you, I presume. Mr. and Mrs. John Peter Fedorovich, huh?
That's right.
Where are you from, Mr. Fedorovich?
Born in Rotten, Poland. I've been here over 40 years.
You were born in Rotten, Poland?
Or Rotten, Poland.
What kind of a place is Rotten, Poland?
I don't know. A long time since I've been there.
How old were you when you fled from there?
60.
You were 60 when you left there?
No.
You are 60? Gee, you don't look it. What sort of work do you do?
I'm a roofer.
Well, top of the morning to you, huh? What does a roofer do?
Fixes the roofs.
Well, I didn't think you raised caterpillars, but what do you do specifically?
Well, depends on the type of roof.
Uh-huh. Well, let's see. You're Mrs. Fedorovich, huh?
That's right.
Fedorovich, is that the word? How do you pronounce it?
Fedorovich.
Fedorovich,
That's
huh?
right.
Well, that's a whole lot better, huh? What is your... Helen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you mind if I call you Helen?
That's all right.
What part of Poland are you from, Helen?
I'm not from Poland. I was born in the United States. I was born in Hobart, Oklahoma.
Well, Helen, you're pretty short for a tall girl. How tall are you?
Well, I'm just a little over 5 feet tall, and I weigh 155 pounds.
Oh, you're kind of 5 by 5, huh? Well, you carry it well. How much do you weigh, John?
I weigh 125.
Did she weigh more than you when you got married?
She weighed about 100 pounds more when I married her.
I beg your pardon?
She weighed about 100 pounds more when I married her.
She weighed 100 pounds more than she does now when you married her?
Than I did.
Than you did. And you weigh 125 and she weighed 225? Helen, after you were married, did you try to lose a little excess baggage?
Yes, I did. And John thought it'd be a good idea if we take a walk.
Did he suggest that you lose some weight?
He suggested that we walk.
Is that true, John?
That's right.
Well, how did you do this? Did you lie down on the floor and let him walk all over you?
No. We took a walk to Arizona.
You took a walk to Arizona? How far did you walk on this Arizona stroll?
About 500 miles.
Well, Helen, did this walking trip to Arizona have any effect on you?
I lost 50 pounds.
Did this make you happy, John?
No, but she gained 60 later on.
Well, John, did you try any other reducing measures, like walking to Shreveport?
No, we didn't walk to Shreveport, but we walked to Spokane, Washington.
You walked to Spokane?
That's right.
Well, how far is that as the crow flies?
We didn't fly, we walked.
He keeps topping me. I guess that's because he was a roofer. How did you make out on the Spokane trip, Helen? Did you lose any blubber, any weight?
I lost about 85 pounds.
Okay, I'm ready for the next question. John, how much did she gain?
Well, she gained 115 pounds.
This could be
I
serious.
was 265.
Where'd you go this time, Alaska?
No, we went down to Morongo, Imperial Valley, Mexico, up in San Diego. Get to Los Angeles. She didn't lose enough. We went to take a walk down to Fresno, over to the coast.
We walked all together about 2,000 miles in 4 months.
And you say, how much do you weigh now?
155.
Oh, well, are you satisfied with her?
Oh, yeah,
weight,
sure.
huh?
I can lift her now. Before I couldn't budge her.
You mean you did this whole thing just so you could lift her?
That's right. And so she feel better and look like something.
Oh. Well, I think she looks pretty cute.
Now she does. You ought to see her before.
The next time she puts on 100 pounds, bring her around, will you? Well, this has been a pretty heavy conversation we've had here, but you can lighten your load by winning a lot of money, and I hope you do. All you got to do is run your $20 more than our other couples, and you get a chance at the big question. These are all French words and expressions that we have adopted for cooking and serving foods. Here's your first question. How much of the 20 will you bet?
20?
You don't consult this with Skinny here at all, huh?
Go ahead. She has to answer.
What about it, Slats? Are you in a...
Let her go ahead and do what she wants.
All right, you're going to bet $20. What is the French word that means a small cup of coffee taken at the close of a meal?
Demitasse.
Right.
While you're on your way, you have $40.
All right, how much of the 40 are you going to bet in your second question?
All of it?
You ignore him completely, eh? What are the small cubes of toasted bread served with soup called?
Croutons.
That's right, croutons.
You now have $80.
Did you carry a menu on this trip you took to Phoenix, Seattle?
No.
Here's your third question. You have $80. How much you going to bet?
All of it?
Slices of bone meat or fish are called what?
Filet.
Filet is right.
You now have $160.
I always thought filet was in Pennsylvania. Now, here's your last chance to beat the other couples. How much will you bet?
All of it.
All of it, huh? Whites of eggs whipped to a standing froth with sugar is called what?
Meringue.
Meringue is right.
And you wind up with $320.
Well, thanks and good luck to the DeSoto Plymouth dealer. All right, George, who's next?
Well, we invited some plumbers to the show tonight, Groucho. And just before we went on the air, our studio audience selected Mr. Michael Moran. His partner is Miss Regula Thorsten. So, folks, would you please come in and meet Groucho Marx?
Welcome to You Bet Your Life. Say the secret word. Plumbers always get applause here. Say the secret word and divide $100. It's a common word, something you always have with you. Mr. Michael Moran. That's you?
Yes, sir. That's...
You have a sister named Lemon?
No, sir. Not that I know of.
Oh, I used to know a Lemon Moran. She lived in the Automat in New York. Where are you from, Mike?
I was born in Huntington, Oregon, but raised in Los Angeles.
Raised in Los Angeles. Are you married?
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
31.
Regula Thorsten, that's you?
That's right.
That's an interesting name, Regula. Where'd you get it?
I was named after the city saint in Zurich, Switzerland.
You said name. That's the secret word. So you get 50 smackers.
Well,
and the plunger over here gets $50.
Thank you, Groucho.
Thank you, Groucho.
Now, what were you saying about you were named after a plumber named Lemon Moran at the Automat in New York?
Groucho, you got it all wrong. I was named after a city saint.
A city saint?
Yeah, that's right, in Zurich, Switzerland.
You come from Switzerland?
I surely do. I did, at least.
Uh-huh. How long ago?
Oh, now, Groucho, you wouldn't ask me embarrassing questions.
Yes, I would. That's the way I make a living, huh? Now, how did you get the name? You were named after a city saint?
That's right.
How long ago was this?
Oh, many years ago.
How long ago?
In this century.
In this century. At the turn of the century?
A little later.
Oh. Why did you come to this country, Regula?
Oh.
Just to outwit me?
No.
Succeeded in so far.
No. You see, I trained as a nurse in the American hospital in Paris. And my superintendent of nurses thought that I would make a much better career in the States, and that's why I came.
Have you had any exciting experiences as a nurse in this country?
I certainly have.
What way, huh?
Well, one of them was taking care of you. You once were my patient.
I knew that past of mine would catch up with me. Well, what happened? Did I emerge alive?
You certainly did.
I did, huh?
Yes. You used to come to this doctor's office quite regularly, and after a few visits, one time, you impersonated your own brother. And you did it so convincingly that you had me completely sold. So I almost got fired. But that isn't all. 2 weeks later...
Hope not.
2 weeks later, you sent your brother into the doctor's office, and you had your brother impersonate you. And to make matters even more complicated, you know what the doctor's name was?
No.
Dr. Marx.
Really?
And that isn't all. Rudolph Marx. And that isn't all.
He's a nice guy, Rudolph.
Isn't he, though?
I went to after you left that doctor's office, I impersonated Rudolph Marx. I didn't know.
But that isn't all.
It was on Wednesday. It was his day off, and they don't come in on Wednesday. You know, doctors don't work on Wednesday at all. Wednesday, Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want to die, you got to do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You know, speaking of hospitals, it reminds me of the story about Mark Connolly. He's a famous playwright. He wrote Green Pastures and many other plays. Anyway, he had gone to Cedars of Lebanon to visit a friend there who had had a tonsillectomy. And he got in the elevator there at Cedars, and the elevator operator says, "What floor?" And he said, Men's tonsils, please. That's a true story, isn't it? Are you still at that same hospital regular?
No, I'm not. I've quit the nursing profession.
They always do that after they get me. Mike, who do you work for?
Sicking Plumbing.
Is it a big outfit?
One of the largest in town, Groucho. We have about 40 plumbers on tap.
40 plumbers on tap. Say, that's pretty good. Do you know any roofing jokes?
No, sir, I don't.
Is that one of the little jokes you plumbers use in the trade?
Well, you might call it that.
Mm-hmm. And for this you charge $5.50 an hour?
Not for the jokes.
Have you ever had any unusual experiences as a plumber, like fixing a leaky faucet in less than 8 hours?
Yes. I was fixing garbage disposal one time when I had to take the garbage disposal out of the sink to repair it. And then in order...
Is that why they call it the Sinking Brothers?
No. And in order to remount it, I had to lay on my back under the sink and put the spud through the hole in the sink, which is just actually like a big donut. So I'm laying there tightening the screws up, looking right up through the sink, and this housewife comes walking over me and turns the water on. Right in my face.
Oh boy, October 21st, 1953, Groucho Marx and You Bet Your Life. We'll have the news from 69 years ago coming up next in the conclusion of Groucho, but first, these messages. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station in the episode of Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life, as it was broadcast Wednesday, 9 p.m., October 21st, 1953. In the newspapers of that Wednesday, 69 years ago, these were some of the headlines. The Five-Nation Neutral Repatriation Commission, in a 10-minute meeting yesterday, approved the repatriation of an American war prisoner who changed his mind and decided to leave Communist Korea. The case broke in amid violent communist protest notes blaming American obstruction for failure of the Red Campaign to woo home 22,000 bulky Chinese and North Koreans. Polish and Czech representatives for the time being broke their self-imposed boycott of the Repatriation Commission to attend a session which quickly validated the return of Corporal Edward S. Dickens of Big Stone Gap, Virginia. After determining that Dickinson wanted to go home, the Indian chairman assured him, "We will do everything possible to comply with your wishes." The United States told the Security Council yesterday it must be ready to take quick action to halt the spread of violence in the Middle East if reports of armistice violations are officially confirmed. Britain warned the danger of an explosion in Palestine was increased by Israeli autumn maneuvers on the demarcation line and by development of Jordanian troops on the west bank of the Jordan River. Secretary of State John Foster Dulles said yesterday he is certain there is no plan for withdrawing any American forces now in Europe under the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. His statement about U.S. troops in Europe followed Defense Secretary Charles E. Wilson's assertion Monday that atomic and other weapons should permit a substantial reduction in American forces in Europe. Wilson said any cutback would be carried out over a reasonable period of time, and no men would be brought home tomorrow morning. His statement, the latest in a series by defense leaders indicating a desire to cut the number of U.S. troops overseas. Secretary of State Dulles also disclosed yesterday the U.S. is withholding foreign aid funds from Israel because of its defiance of the United Nations in the Jordan River dispute. Dulles telling a news conference it's questionable whether authority will release the funds as long as Israel continues its attitude toward UN plans for maintaining peace in the Middle East. William Big Bill Hutchison, former president of the American Federation of Labor Carpenters Union and one of Labor's most powerful figures, died of a heart attack yesterday. President Eisenhower led the nation in mourning his death. The hulking 79-year-old Hutchison ruled 800,000 carpenters with an iron hand until he relinquished control of the union to his son 2 years ago. Attorney General Brownell said last night paid public defenders as well as paid public prosecutors should function in the federal district courts throughout the land. In an address to the New York Herald Tribune Forum, The Attorney General said he will ask the next session of Congress to legislate to this end. Singer Julius LaRosa struck out on his own yesterday after getting his walking papers from the Arthur Godfrey shows in the presence of a nationwide radio and television audience, saying he always would be grateful to Godfrey, who plucked him from obscurity 2 years ago and made him a star. LaRosa nevertheless professed to be a very confused guy as a result of his sudden exit from the shows. Meanwhile, arrangements were being made for LaRosa to appear regularly the next 52 weeks on Ed Sullivan's Sunday night television program, Toast of the Town, on CBS. Well, what would you do if you were awakened at 5 a.m. and opened your door and found a horse staring at you? William O'Brien, who lives in Walker Hall on the Princeton University campus, had it happen to him in a third-floor room. Said O'Brien, I got up, peeked out the door, and there was the horse. At first, I didn't believe my eyes, but the smell convinced me it was the real thing. O'Brien called police. They thought he would be having hallucinations. The Bluecoats hurried to the scene. The owner of the horse had reported it missing earlier in the night. Horse led down the stairs by a group of students, all of whom professed the animal's presence on the third floor was a mystery to them. A university official adding it was a prank. And he said, the university official said, last year someone got one of those little foreign cars into a dormitory and up the third floor. Don't ask how. It's all in the college year. Though some of the day's top news stories is reported in the newspapers of Wednesday, October 21st, 1953 on your radio, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
So I'm laying there tightening the screws up, looking right up through the sink, and this housewife comes walking over me and turns the water on. Right in my face. And she says, I didn't think it would run on you. And what do you think it's going to do, run up?
Well, at least you got a bath out of it, didn't you? You're lucky she didn't drop any garbage down there. Well, it's been very interesting talking to you two. I haven't learned anything, but it's been interesting. And the next time you come to my house, charge me $4 an hour, will you? Well, now you're gonna work in the quiz. Now let's see how you make out. We'll see how smart you really are. All you got to do is run your $20 in the more than our other couples, and you'll get a chance at the big money later.
In the race for the $1,500, the first couple won $320, and the secret word is name.
Let's see how high you can bid your $20. You selected instruments in common use as your category. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Most of us have seen or heard of these instruments. Now, these are not plumber's tools, you know.
No.
Now, let's see if you can identify them. You have $20. How much are you going to bet?
I think we should bet
Talk real loud now.
$19.98.
Okay.
No, we didn't hear a word you said.
All right.
1998.
1998.
Sounds like Macy's basement.
Yes, it does. Have you ever thought of quitting plumbing and going into show business?
No, sir.
Everybody's in show business now. You can get yourself a panel show in no time. What is the instrument used by doctors to determine the heartbeat?
The stethoscope.
That's right. That's a stethoscope.
You have $39.98 now.
What does that remind you of?
Can't think of anything. I'm concentrating right now.
What is the... How much are you betting?
All's but 2 cents, so it'd be $39.86.
96.
96.
What is the surveying instrument called that is used to measure angles? It is mounted on a tripod. What is the surveying instrument called that is used to measure angles? It is mounted on a tripod.
Datum. It isn't correct.
No.
Datum is the only thing I can think of it. Datum.
One answer? Is that what you decide on?
Yes, sir.
You
I know it too, but I can't think of it.
Transit.
Transit.
Oh,
That's
that's
right.
a shame.
Just used it the other day.
You now have 2 cents.
Wow.
We're rich.
How much of the 2 cents you going to bet?
Go for broke.
Go for broke.
Go for broke. What is the instrument used for marking exact time in music?
No, just a minute. I know it as well as...
A fork. Couple
I know.
squares.
It's metronome.
A metronome.
Well,
Well, now you have nothing.
Now
All
we have
gone.
nothing. All gone.
Now I give you one more question. You get this right and you split $25. A popular figure of early American history was Martha Washington. What was her husband's name?
George Washington.
Absolutely right, George Washington. Thanks for carrying it in. Thanks and good luck to the DeSoto Plymouth dealer.
Least he didn't ask who was buried in Grant's tomb. October 21st, 1953, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life, on this Friday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We've got a great few days coming up here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll start off Saturday with an episode of The Weird Circle from 78 years ago, October 22nd, 1944, The Burial of Roger Malvin. A man promises to bury his dying friend, but fails to keep his promise. On Sunday, Harold Perry is the Great Gildersleeve from October 23rd, 1946, 76 years ago. Things are tough financially in the Gildersleeve household, so bad that Gildy goes to ask for a raise. Leroy's out selling papers. And on Monday, we'll have Gerald Moore in an episode of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe from its first season, October 24th, 1948, 74 years ago. The Heart of Gold, a $50 bill in advance, and a heart-shaped locket lead to an apparent suicide and an old secret. That's coming up in the next few days here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now, the conclusion of Groucho Marx and You Bet Your Life. October 21st, 1953, 69 years ago today, by the way, at 9 o'clock at night on NBC.
Okay, George, who's next?
Well, Groucho, we have a young married couple for you now, Mr. and Mrs. Edward Shefflin. So, folks, would you come in, please, and meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, welcome. Welcome, youngsters, for the DeSoto Plymouth dealer. Say the secret word and you'll take home an extra $100. It's a common word, something you always have with you. Mr. What do you call him? Fenneman, what do you call him Mr. for? This man's a general. Are you a general?
No, Groucho, I'm a master sergeant in the Air Force.
Oh. How old are you, Sergeant?
33.
33, huh? Well, you're a fine-looking lad. Mrs. Shefflin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to call you Mrs. Shefflin. That's too dignified for me.
What, can you call me Margaret?
Well, I could try. Margaret, I notice you're holding pretty tight to your husband there. Do you feel all right?
Oh, I'm feeling fine, thank you.
Oh.
But I sometimes hold on to him this way when we're walking around because my left leg is paralyzed. I had polio in 1942.
Oh, is that so? I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to sit down?
Oh, no, I'd really rather stand.
You would?
Yeah. I sit down watching one thing and another all day.
No. I'd rather sit down myself. I didn't know how you felt. Well, are you sure you won't be too tired, huh?
No, I'll be fine.
All right. Does your polio seem to be getting better as time goes by?
Well, it's a gradual process, but it's been getting better, and strangely enough, having a baby seems to help.
How old is your baby?
Well, we have 4 little girls, but the youngest one is 5 weeks.
You say these 4 children helped your health, eh?
Well, it seems to have, anyway.
That's odd. I've been a father 3 times, and look at me, eh? Next time, I think I'll try being a mother.
That would be fine.
Who takes care of the 4 kids, Margaret? Do you have help?
No, I take care of them in the house. Oh, I don't feel I have a real handicap, because I can play ping pong and swim and do lots of things.
Well, you certainly have a lot of courage, Margaret. Next time I get a little ache or pain, I don't think I'll complain quite so much.
Maybe the little ones are bad, too.
I had a headache the other day, and I sent for an ambulance. Let's find out some more about you two. For example, what was there about Margaret that prompted you to pop the question?
Well, I thought she was very nice looking, and she was a good conversationalist, and pleasant, courteous, and above all, she was very smart.
You mean by trapping you, she was smart?
Well, she can read a book in, say, less than an hour, and she can tell you everything that she's read.
Well, can she cook?
She can do anything.
You're pretty proud of her, aren't you, huh?
Oh, that I am.
And I certainly don't blame you, Sergeant. You think she'll win a lot of money for you here tonight?
Oh, it's just as good as money in the bank.
What makes you think she's going to walk away with the loot here tonight?
Well, she used to be a quiz kid for about 3 years.
A quiz kid? Jumping butterballs were wiped out. Is this true, Margaret? Are you really a former quiz kid?
Yeah, I was a quiz kid from...
Kelly?
Joe Kelly.
Joe Kelly, yeah.
And he's still on.
Is that so?
I've gotten too old. See, when you're 16, they figure you're not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
So I was on from 42 to 44.
Well, Ed, doesn't it sometimes annoy you that your wife knows all the answers?
Well, Groucho, it sometimes scares me.
Well, don't worry about her knowing the answers, old boy. The time to get scared is when she starts asking the questions. Well, obviously, you're a happily married couple, and I'm sure everyone is anxious to see you slaughter me in the quiz. So let's see what you can do. You have to run your $20 no more than our other couples, and you'll get a chance at the big money.
In the race for the $1,500, Mr. and Mrs. Fedorowicz are leading with $320.
You selected what's the number. This is a test of your powers of observation. Let's see if you can correctly identify the amount or number. Here's your first question. How much will you bet?
20.
All of it? Sure.
All of it?
All of it.
All of it.
How many strings on a standard violin?
4.
4 is right.
You now have $40.
You have $40. Now, how much are you going to bet on this one?
Shoot to works.
I wish we'd taken that.
On a standard telephone dial, how many holes are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 0.
Okay, you tell me.
10.
10 is correct.
Okay.
You now have $80.
She's the quiz kid, but I know she's slipping you the hard ones here. Huh? Here's your third question. How much of the 80 are you going to bet?
82. We'll bet the 80.
How many rows of keys are there on a standard typewriter?
4.
4 is right.
You now have $160.
Here's your last chance to be the other couples. You have $160. How much are you going to risk?
All of it.
We'll try it all.
All of it.
How many cigarettes are there in a standard pack?
20.
20 is right, huh? Big kiss.
And you wind up with $320.
Thanks and good luck from the DeSoto Plymouth dealers.
Thank you.
And that means that the first couple, Mr. and Mrs. Fedorowicz, and Sergeant Shefflin and his wife, both with $320, have tied for the chance at the big $1,500 question. Well, Groucho, here are the two couples tied for the chance at the big question. Mr. and Mrs. John Peter Fedorovich, Mr. and Mrs. Edward Shefflin. Each couple will decide on a single answer and write it down on a little piece of paper we've given them. If both couples get it right, they'll split the money between them. We all set? 15 seconds.
Yes, okay. One of the colorful figures of the gay 90s was a former newsboy who on July 23rd, 1886, allegedly jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge and survived. For $1,500, what was his name? Nothing? You wouldn't even write anything?
I didn't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Fedorovich, huh? The gentleman over here is right, it's Steve Brody.
Oh, sure.
And you win $1,500.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't all win, but that's the way it goes.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
How much did they win in the quiz, George?
Well, they all won $320 in the quiz, and
Well, you won $1,820. Congratulations. From the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers from coast to coast, you bet your life.
Be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night at the same time for the Groucho Marx Show, when the big question will be worth $1,000. And don't forget Groucho's television show, also brought to you by the DeSoto Plymouth Dealers of America. Remember that the dealers who sell the remarkable new Plymouth, engineered and built to be your best buy in the low-priced field, will have the magnificent new 1954 DeSoto on display November 5th. DeSoto, Plymouth. Two great new cars. Both products of the Chrysler Corporation.
And when you drive in, tell them Groucho sent you. Good night, folks, and remember, just be sure to see the distinguished new DeSoto.
Friends, tonight your DeSoto Plymouth dealers from coast to coast salute the National Safety Congress, which is celebrating its 41st anniversary. DeSoto is proud of the part it has played in making America highway safety conscious. Remember, the life you save may be your own. You Bet Your Life, transcribed from Hollywood, is produced by John Goodell, directed by Robert Dwan and Bernie Smith, music by Jerry Fielding. This is George Fenneman signing off for the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers from coast to coast. You Bet Your Life is heard by our armed forces throughout the world.
October 21st, 1953, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Have a great weekend ahead. Please visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows there, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can contact me there. You can buy me a copy, find our social media links, all there at classicradio.stream. Thank this station, support their advertisers, and please tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.